What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Chaos. My name is the-tek, and today we're going to be reacting to a thing, well, I haven't really done in a little while. So this was actually brought to my attention from another member of the Satanic Temple that I know. It's a video called Uncovering the Church of Satanism. So already we're off to a bad start because there's no Church of Satanism. There's a Church of Satan, which is an organization, but it's not an actual church. And they were saying there was a lot of crap in it. And like, I don't know. I've never heard this channel before, but they do have things like Loch Ness Monster Factor Fiction, which if you have to ask that question, something's already gone horribly wrong. But I don't know. They also have a couple other videos which seem, actually factual. So I don't know what this is all about. So let's go ahead and get into it. Also, before we get started, if you actually like my content, you should subscribe and become a member of the meme cult. Also, like the video and all that stuff. Leave a comment. And if you want to support the channel further, you can become a channel member and pay your tithe as a cult member. And with that out of the way, let's get to this.
Satanism. To some, it's a religion as valid as Christianity. To others, it is a dangerous and subversive cult.
You mean like the Catholic Church, Jehovah's Witnesses, the Mormons, Scientology? Some people do throw around that word cult a lot, not actually knowing what a cult is. And I can tell you from being a Satanist that it's not a cult. Like, I can leave anytime I want. There's no expectations on me to be active in the group. I don't have to, donate a whole lot of my time to the group or anything like that. And also, I don't lose anything if I leave. I probably would even still keep the same friends for the most part, unless I did, something horrifying. But, yeah. So, it's not a cult, guys. A lot of Christian denominations, however, could be considered cults, particularly Catholicism. We'll take a look at that one because you do have to donate a lot of your time. You are shamed in the form of confession. You will lose all your family and friends if you leave, for the most part, or at least your relationship with them will be, drastically altered. Same thing with Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormonism. And not the Catholic Church, Scientology. All of those are actual cults. So yeah, you have to be very clear when you actually define your terms here.
But what really goes on beneath the robes, amid the candles? Is there a darker side to the sacrifices and the rituals?
What sacrifices? I haven't seen one sacrifice since I joined TST, my guys. And I don't know any Satanist that actually sacrifices animals or children or blood or really anything. Maybe a little bit of their time to actually do rituals, but honestly, that wouldn't consider that a sacrifice because most of us want to do those things.
Satanism refers to the real or mythical figure known as Satan, whose followers look at him as an inspiring, just, and even heroic figure.
There's some truth to that. The figure of Satan is actually used as inspiration for it's used as a symbol of rebellion, as well as particularly against Judeo-Christian beliefs. So yeah, at least that part's true.
These people that genuinely believe in Satan and all of his darkness.
And just like that, I disagree. Yeah, no. I haven't really met a whole lot of theistic Satanists, although they do exist. The vast majority of Satanists do not believe in Satan. They don't believe in God either. They are, for lack of a better word, atheists. So there's that. But again, we're living through a new age of the satanic panic, so I guess whatever gets the views.
They believe in it far more, probably, than the pure white light of Christianity.
When you say pure white light, what are you exactly talking about? Because there's nothing pure about Christianity. I hate to say it. In fact, large stains of history are stained with the blood of innocent blood, simply because Christians decided that they had a right to murder people. So Christianity is the farthest from pure, and it's only when you reinterpret scripture that it actually becomes somewhat okay. Not good, just not bad either.
What if there is a ladder beyond us, which consists of beings of pure energy? And what if some of them are morally good, and some morally evil?
This brings me to another, not exciting, but terrifying point. Exorcism is still practiced. That's another stain on Christianity. Of course, it's primarily practiced by the Catholic Church, but yeah, there's still other denominations that practices exorcism as well. Greg Locke's church, wherever the hell that's called, they also practice exorcism. And something that's not really talked about a whole lot is that people are tortured and often die during exorcisms. And I guess if you believe in God, then I guess it's fine. It's just, but yeah, unfortunately, it's not fine when you consider that there seems to be no evidence of God. So really, you're just subjecting people to cruel and unusual punishment for absolutely no reason. You gotta admit, though, that was an epic intro. And already I can tell we're going to disagree with the makers of the video because it says inside the cult of Satan. Which is weird because it says a dark journey into Satanism on the title. And I believe the thumbnail itself says inside the Church of Satanism. So, yeah, they're doing a lot to try to get around YouTube censorship. Anytime you have the word cult in your title, you don't get as many views because YouTube will actively try to suppress that. But yeah, the fact that they're calling it a cult here already kind of tells me what I'm in for. Also, I was supposed to mention that at the beginning, but I don't really have a whole lot of time to record this because I have to prepare for a concert later this afternoon. So I might do half of it now and the other half later, or I will record part of it now and then record the other part later. Either I don't know if I'm going to split it up into 2 videos or 1. Leaning towards doing 1, but yeah, if there's any weird cuts and I'm wearing different clothes or whatever, you'll know why.
Today, it's estimated that there are as many as 100,000 Satanists in the world, all worshipping the devil.
Nope. Already I can tell you I'm disagreeing with you.
With the goat of Mendes becoming one of its most common symbols.
Hang on, let me fact check before I start saying shit. Baphomet. Why did you say the goat of Mendes and not Baphomet? Yeah, so the image of Satan that people what people say is the image of Satan, that's on, TST's logo. It's also in the Church of Satan's logo. That's not actually Satan, that's Baphomet, which is something completely different. It is a representation of duality in all things. So that's why it's actually used as a symbol. It's also a blasphemous icon, so that's the other reason why satanic organizations tend to use it. But it's still wrong about the part where we all worship Satan, because we don't all worship Satan. Again, there are theistic Satanists. I'm not saying that they don't exist, but they are a very small minority of Satanism.
It's a worldwide phenomenon, and it's growing every year.
Fuck yeah!
Satanism is becoming more popular, and I think one of the reasons is probably the decline of the Orthodox Church, of Christianity.
No, it's because of the church itself. Actually, that has a lot to do with the information age in general. Once people had access to internet, pretty much in 1994, when most homes actually had the internet, you saw a massive drop in the amount of people who actually believed in a god. It's that number dropped significantly and continues to drop today. And that's because we're valuing things like critical thinking and reasoning and rationality and all these different things, as well as we value information as well. And unfortunately, when you put God under a magnifying glass, the whole story just falls apart. That's ultimately what is leading to the decline in the attendance of church. And the rise of Satanism is actually coming from a lot of different areas wanting to instill theocratical beliefs into government. So it's a large part of it also has to do with the fact that a couple different countries, including the one I live in, the United States, all have politicians that want to instill a theocracy, and it's a direct result of people just saying, no, we're highly against this stuff. And on top of that, it is a religion that's all about, self-fulfillment, worshiping the self, treating yourself better. So, which does sound kind of like self-absorbed, but you also have to treat everyone else with respect as well. You have to, respect their decisions as well. So autonomy is a big thing. And the reason why that seems appealing to most people is because a lot of people have dealt with religious abuse. I know I was one of those victims of said abuse, whether it be physical or psychological, but the theme is the same. It's all motivated by one's religious beliefs. And that's also appealing because it's embracing blasphemy and bodily autonomy and all these different things can actually help somebody heal, which is another good thing. And the last one, which is the one reason that I personally got involved with Satanism and TST in general, is that community. There's not a whole lot of really good atheist communities, at least in my opinion. And TST might be one of those communities that appeal to people. So That's ultimately the reason. But a lot of people are turning away from religion because of the beliefs themselves and the fact that it just doesn't stand up to even cursory scrutiny anymore because of the access to the internet. We can it's just a lot easier to see the lies that are in the Bible and in religion in general.
All of us deep down want to be sinful and do naughty things. And of course, that's what Satanism is all about. Sex, debauchery, and anything else that you want to do, Satanism allows you to do it.
Yes and no. I'm still not allowed to kill people. It's not that we all want to do sinful things. It's just that as Satanists, we realize that sin is a religious invention that's meant to shame you. That's it. Sin is not really a thing. Right and wrong do exist. That much is true, but sin is very subjective, and it's and it's all based on which religion you're a part of. Polygamy is fine in one religion. Polygamy is not okay in the other religion. In all reality, it should be up to the individual to choose whether or not that particular thing is good for them. Basically, the most of the rules of Satanism are do what you want as long as you don't harm another person. So we don't really have a concept of sin. Well, some people say there's different carnal sins that you can break. For instance, I believe the Church of Satan says it's a sin to be stupid. I mean, I guess that kind of counts, but honestly, a lot of people have kind of gotten away from that mindset as of late. So yeah, but getting back to my original point, the whole reason for sin in the church is basically to shame you. It's another control tactic. So if you're thinking bad thoughts about another person when you're already married, that can be used against you by the church. That's the whole point. It's just another control tactic. It's not that we all want to sin. It's just that the church wants to control what you can and cannot do.
Hallelujah. Praise the new Lord.
Satan.
I like what he says, but unfortunately he's against me on this.
Satanism is pretty much at its pinnacle of popularity. It's estimated there's over 100,000 members of the Church of Satan, and it's really become quite trendy.
I have a love and hate relationship with something being trendy. Yeah, it's great because you get more people who are interested and more people to talk to and that share your passion. But at the same time, you also get those people, and we don't want those people. Those people can ruin everything for everyone. And unfortunately, those people are the people that everyone remembers, which is probably going to come up in this. Those people are probably going to be in this documentary, by the way.
There are certain extremely dubious black magicians who perform all kinds of unholy ceremonies in the name of Satan by responding to him as the personification of evil. They can justify their own evil acts, their greed, their unrestricted sexuality, and the other strange things that they do, the blood sacrifices and so forth.
Again, I'd love to see where you found evidence of blood sacrifice, because I haven't seen any blood sacrifices since I became a Satanist. But oddly enough, I haven't met a greedy Satanist. Just haven't found one. In fact, I've known a lot of Satanists that actually have extended a helping hand to fellow Satanists and, other members of the community as well, particularly that people who are LGBTQ and people who are just fallen on hard times. In fact, that's what the Satanic Good Works is about. In fact, I know the story of somebody in my congregation who they had to move from one city to another, I believe it was, and they asked their family and their Christian friends for help. All of them said, oh yeah, we're gonna come here, we're gonna help you move, we'll help you get all that sorted. They never showed up. You know who did? The members of the Satanic Temple. Doesn't sound like an evil act, but certainly there's something there, right? But yeah, still no blood sacrifices. I'm still kind of confused as to where they're getting that.
Perhaps the most widely known aspect of Satanism is the Church of Satan itself, which was founded by a man called Anton LaVey in America in 1966.
Yep, it was founded during the time of the free love, pretty much the hippie movement, Woodstock and all that. So it kind of makes sense, how it became a very romanticized kind of religion. So, and still, even then, it's a non-theistic religion. They don't actually believe in Satan. They also don't believe in God. They are, for the most part, atheists. But the Church of Satan is more spiritual in its practices than, let's say, the Satanic Temple. They didn't call it spiritual or magical or anything like that. They referred to it as something else. I can't really remember quite what it was, but it was along those lines.
Gavin Baddeley is the church's representative in the UK. and he's agreed to meet me and tell me all about it.
I really hope Gavin doesn't fuck this up, but I have a feeling Gavin's about to fuck this up.
I'd imagined that there would be more kind of ritual sacrifices and pentagrams and candles and capes and that kind of thing.
Oh, we certainly have our pentagrams and candles and capes. But yeah, that image exists and we play up to it. And a lot of people who are drawn to Satanism are drawn because they, the sort of sex and blood iconography is very appealing. It's very easy as somebody who occasionally operates as a spokesman for Satanism to be drawn into fulfilling other people's expectation. But that's not what Satanism is.
You forgot to dispel the, animal sacrifice part, but yeah, he kind of like said it was like, yeah, we have that kind of image of the blood, the candles, and all that stuff, but that's not what Satanism is. You probably should have mentioned that the animal and human sacrifice thing doesn't happen, because, yeah, I did say he was going to fuck it up, but yeah, there you go.
But do you have ceremonies and rituals?
They take place, certainly. If we do these things, they're for ourselves, they're a form of theatre, they're a way of energizing, they're fun.
And that's the whole purpose of rituals. There we go. That's the entire thing. It's for the self, it's a show, it's meant to be fun, it's meant to energize, it's meant to draw you into the community a little bit more, and you can practice rituals on your own, however the hell you want. Doesn't matter. But I still have yet to see an animal or human sacrifice. Sorry, that part's still not true.
The Church of Satan is a very corporate American thing. It's very big in the States. It's so big, in fact, now that you can actually dial 1-800 number and you'll get a call. Hi, Church of Satan, how may I direct your call? And the Americans absolutely love it. It's a cult, and they love cults.
So the Church of Satan, unfortunately, doesn't actually meet any of the requirements to be a cult. It does, however, meet the requirements to be a private organization. In particular, it could technically meet the criteria to be a for-profit organization, but it could actually push through its paperwork to be a not-for-profit religious organization, a tax-exempt organization at that. But they just don't. Because, for the most part, they want to stay out of politics, which is fine. Fair enough. So there are tenets and stuff, things that you have to abide by. That's fair. Churches and cults everywhere have that, of course. But there's no requirement to devote any of your time. You don't have to do that. You can choose to, but you don't have to. There's no special books you have to buy. Again, they're there. You could buy them. You don't have to. There's no restrictions on who you can be with, who you can love, or anything like that. In fact, that's one of the things that kind of appeals, is that you're free to love and share your body with whoever the hell you want, which is actually anti-cult, believe it or not, because cults want to restrict who you sleep with, who you're involved with, and your sexuality as well. You're not taught what to think. You're not taught how to think, which is, again, the whole thing about Satanism is that you're free to learn pretty much whatever the officials know, you know it as well. There's no information that's off limits, aside from, the ritual locations, because we don't want a whole lot of people peeping. And also there are people, it's still very taboo to be a Satanist, even here in the United States. I've known people who've been threatened. I myself have been threatened. I know people who have gotten death threats and stuff like that just for being a Satanist. So a lot of people don't want that part about themselves to be on display because, well, of people like this, to be honest. But yeah, the fact that you can learn what you want, love who you want, do what you want, that's very anti-cult behavior, actually. Cults want to restrict all those things. Instead, it's an element of control. So, unfortunately, the Church of Satan just doesn't fit the profile of a cult, unlike Scientology, the Catholic Church, Mormonism, Jehovah's Witnesses.
You have to imagine there's a lot of people who feel that the standards that God has set out are just too high and really quite unfair and not really something that they're up for adhering to. So this notion of the devil being kind of, accepting of who you are and just a little bit naughty has a certain appeal to people.
Exactly. Like I said earlier, the whole purpose of sin is to shame you. It gives the church or whatever religious organization you're part of another element of control. Those are the hallmarks of a cult, is shaming you as a form of control. That's why people are turning more towards atheism or even, Satanism, because it's very anti-religion. Think of it this way. All Satanism really is an anti-religion religion.
The worship of Satan is a practice as old as our civilization. But since the rise and dominance of Christianity in the Western world, it's gone underground.
So there were a couple of cults, but they didn't actually worship Satan. I do remember there was a cult the cult of Kali, which is pretty much the only thing people know about Kali. Kali was a little bit more complex than just being a murder god. Actually, I should say murder goddess, because Kali was actually Shiva's wife. That's really the only notable one that I can actually point to. For the most part, a lot of people didn't really worship evil deities. There was like one group, but I can't remember who they were, that actually worshipped evil deities. But it's not really a thing. It was never really a thing. However, you do have things like the Salem witch trials, the Satanic Panic, and of course the modern day Satanic Panic, where people are being accused of devil worship who aren't actually devil worshippers. That happens a lot. Again, it's just more religious nuts just trying to exercise their power and control over others. Oh, not to mention the Inquisitions. The Inquisitions and the Crusades and, all that stuff.
In the 18th century, it became very fashionable for the aristocracy to hold secret meetings in the dark, undisturbed corners of their estates, where these satanic rituals were said to have taken place. Now, one of these groups was the infamous Hellfire Club, and they held their meetings here in these West Wickham caves.
Now, admittedly, I don't know a whole lot about the Hellfire Club, but that's what Google's for. All right, doing a little bit of research on Hellfire Club, the best I can actually tell you is that it was just a secret way for people of high class to actually engage in debauchery without other people finding out, particularly the church. And I hate to tell you, but that was not a satanic organization at all. In fact, most of those aristocrats were actually very much Christian. They just didn't want the church to know what they were doing. Of course, somebody's going to correct me in the comments, but for the most part, I'm going to skip this part because the Hellfire Club is not something I really know a whole lot about. But if you leave a comment, I'll be happy to revisit it once I do know a thing or two about it. So there you go.
So what would have gone on in here?
This was where they really released all their inner Bacchus, as it is. This is where they succumb to the flesh.
Hell yeah, orgy. I like this room a lot.
Because of how this chamber is built, the sounds of all the singing, of all the grunting, all of it would have just filled this chamber and would have carried up the passageways. This would have come to life and reverberated with just sin, I suppose, is the best way.
That sounds hot as hell.
The Hellfire Club was actually nothing more than a group of toffs, upper-class people, and the whole idea of it was sex and drugs and rock and roll.
Sounds like an amazing club. I kind of want to join.
The reason it was held in secret was basically because they were doing things that their wives probably wouldn't have been very keen to know about.
If they were married, yeah. Or if their wives were just really adventurous. Again, polyamory probably would have been a thing with these secret societies because the church didn't allow that, which is weird because polyamory is actually condoned in the Bible.
On the whole, I think it was a jolly good drinking club where a few girls were brought in, everyone got drunk, and things got rather out of hand.
I think this guy wants to join the Hellfire Club.
And what about any kind of evidence of satanic worship, rituals?
Sir Francis Dashwood has had a whole library of occult and black magic books. He really leaned towards it. He found it fascinating.
Again, just because you find something fascinating doesn't mean that they actually practiced it. And also, it doesn't mean that it actually works.
It really is a strange feeling being down here in the caves, truly oppressive and quite forbidding. A rich man's satanic fantasy carved out of limestone hundreds of feet underground.
He says satanic, but really it's just anti-church. Which I guess is satanic in its own way.
These guys that are sacrificing goats, screaming goats, cutting off the heads of chickens, drinking blood, and basically doing everything that's anti-Christ, for want of a better word, do they believe that they're actually getting something out of it? Or is it a load of absolute crap?
Considering no one's, sacrificing goats or humans or drinking blood. I mean, isn't it obvious? Like, it is a load of crap. But here's the thing. We actually know. We know it's just theater. It's performance art, really. It's really just performance art. So we're not sacrificing goats, drinking blood, or anything like that. So it's really, yeah. So, I mean, kind of answers your own question there, doesn't it? In a weird way, it kind of does, doesn't it?
but by all accounts, it got very pagan. And in fact, it was an excuse for the high-class ladies of society to really kind of act out their sexual fantasies, because that's what it was. It was more of a pagan sex club than it was anything else.
Couldn't have said it better myself. I'm remarkably unimpressed. I think they're really just using this because of Stranger Things. Like, when did this come out? Hang on. 5 months ago. So the whole Stranger Things thing was still pretty popular. So, I mean, I guarantee, like, they're probably using the Hellfire Club just to, like, boost numbers. In fact, let me look at their tags. Yeah, no, I think they're spending so much time on the Hellfire Club just because of Stranger Things and nothing else. It just drives up viewers.
Was there any sort of satanic rituals going on down there?
I like to think not, and we have no evidence of it.
That's kind of the whole thing. You have no evidence. That, like, you don't, like, after that you don't need to keep talking. It's like was he actually doing this? Like, well, we have no evidence, so probably not.
There's stories about a woman who was said to have been turned into a nymphomaniac. Tell me a bit more about that.
Yes, that was great fun. That was fantastic. So
Not the word I would use, my guy.
I think it was in the middle of the 80s. I recall it reasonably well. And a coach party of old dears went down the caves, and one of them came out and said she'd been a spinster all her life, had no sexual experience whatsoever, and she was assaulted by the evil influence of my ancestor, and that the Satan was at work, and he was alive and well in the caves, and therefore it should be closed down immediately because this influence had turned her into a raving nymphomaniac.
Sounds like a girl who just doesn't want to take responsibility for her own actions. In fact, now that I think about it, if you want to get out of any responsibility for your own actions ever, there's a huge white light on the screen, so my face is all blown out. But if you want to get out of any, like, responsibility for your own actions ever, all you have to do is just claim supernatural. Seriously. You get pregnant when you shouldn't be pregnant, you can just claim that God did it. It's like you do things that are sinful and, against the church, just claim that you were demon possessed. Seriously. Like, that's a lot of what I hear from these stories, is that, like, people did things that they wanted to do, but then realized that the authority figures of the time would not accept that and probably do bad things to these people, so they just claimed the supernatural to get out of the consequences of their actions.
One of the most popular and disturbing manifestations of Satan and evil itself is a possession. A human body that has been taken over by a demonic entity, or even the devil himself.
All right, we're about to start getting into this, and I really, really hope that he actually goes over what happens in a lot of those cases, which is actually kind of disturbing, so buckle up.
Chris Thompson is a practicing exorcist. He says he carries out dozens of exorcisms every year, and that he's becoming increasingly busy.
I have to wonder if he gets paid to do these exorcisms. Like, when I was a Christian, like, it made sense that you wouldn't charge for these, because, like, you shouldn't, honestly, charge for them. But there are exorcists that do, which really struck me as odd when I was a Christian. And now I kind of see why that is. It's because, like, if you think you're demonic possessed, like I said before, it's like, it's all it is an excuse to get away from the responsibility of your actions. That's all it is. So when you actually have the exorcist in the room, it becomes kind of like the power of suggestion, sort of. Like, you're taught at a young age how to respond in this situation. So if you are playing a role of somebody who is demonically possessed, then you're going to act demonically possessed, regardless of whether you are or are not. Which, guess what? They're not, because demons don't exist. But unfortunately, The Exorcist also has a role to play, and it also gets very graphic and often very grim. And I really hope they touch up on that.
He's allowed us to film a recreation of a typical exorcism.
Okay. This is typical. This is typical. Okay, first off, she's going to get really high and stare at the ceiling for a bit. And everyone else is just going to stare at her. And of course, you have to lock him in his basement. Why are we locking people in your basement, dude? That's kind of weird.
Really, all you've got to do is find out if it is genuinely something that's possessing them, or whether it's in their mind.
I hate to spoil your fun, but it's in the mind. Like, it doesn't matter who you talk to. It's in their mind. Like, regardless, it's in their mind.
I mean, obviously, people can get terrified by what's going on. So, first of all, you establish if it's genuine, and then find out who it is and get them to move out.
How do you know if it's genuine? I'm very curious. But not in a good way. I'm not the good kind of curious. I want to figure out if this guy needs to be locked up or not. Like, legit, considering they're aren't demons, you can already assume that none of them are genuine. So, curious.
Using whatever methods necessary.
Wait, go back.
Establish if it's genuine, and then find out who it is and get them to move out, using whatever methods necessary.
That's the part that actually should concern people. By whatever means necessary, people have been drowned, sexually assaulted, physically assaulted, murdered, and all sorts of different things. So torture is usually a recurring theme in these exorcisms. If not physical, it's often psychological. In fact, like if you were to go through this and you weren't demonically possessed, or even if you thought you were, there would still be a large amount of psychological trauma involved. So that's a problem. Is he going to smack her with that book? No, he's just going to balance it on her head for some reason. What is this supposed to do exactly?
There's various things I use. I do have holy water.
Look at this.
The idea is to get whatever's moved into the host out of there.
What are you saying has moved in?
It could be a demon or just another spirit that's moved in there to somehow try to interact with the person.
Why is it that atheists never get possessed by demons? Questions for later.
Are they real, or are they just imaginary on the part of the person you're exercising?
To the person that I'm exercising, they are very real.
To the person you're exercising, they are very real. First off, how do you know that? Because not all of them believe that they're real. And two, what? Like, okay, if somebody with schizophrenia is having a vivid hallucination that they are a messiah, you don't then perform an exorcism on them. You take them to a hospital because something is clearly going wrong here. Exorcism is not a treatment for a psychological condition. If you take anything away from this, please let it be that.
But who knows? Does the spirit actually just affect the mind, or does it affect the whole body?
We don't have spirits. There's no spirit in here. You're just a moving meat monster. They've literally done scientific tests on this. On top of that, if the spirit world and souls and all this actually did exist, it would actually prove physics completely wrong. But unfortunately for all of you, physics is not wrong. Oh, that bothers me so much.
To exercise someone...
You have to take them to the gym. Oh wait, they're talking about something else.
To exercise someone, you have to believe that they are possessed. And the only way to get that demon out is by bringing in a priest, splashing holy water on you, screaming, "Begone, evil demon," getting them to recite various oaths and things. There's no such thing as demons.
Okay, first off, the whole part of, like, wait. I'm very confused as to what this guy's stance is. I probably should have paid more attention as to who he is. But I love how he did say that there's no such thing as demons. That's... Thank you. Thank you. At least we agree on that.
According to the Catholic world, to conduct an exorcism, you have to be an ordained priest. But as regards Christianity as a whole is concerned, any good Christian can conduct an exorcism.
And that's where it all goes wrong, because that means literally anyone can perform this ritual. And it often goes really bad.
I personally have, in the past, conducted exorcisms. I can't tell you whether they've worked or not.
I can tell you that they didn't, because demons don't exist. You even said it yourself. I mean, come on. You should know.
In exorcism, there's the sorts of things that you would expect. You have the person who's suffering, who's possessed. They're speaking in tongues, they're vomiting, they're using vulgar language, they're behaving in a way that looks like as though they're mentally ill. They're both buying into the fact that there's a demon involved here, and thus they're both taking on roles that may just be that, not real sort of possession, but physiological sort of association with what they think they should be saying and doing and behaving.
In other words, it's the power of suggestion. Just like I said before.
Whether it is a demon inside them or whether they're just plain bonkers, I don't know.
We do. Everyone does. Psychology knows. Biology knows. Science knows. Like, there's no gray area here. It's a load of crap, is all it is.
I'm not going to deny the existence of a spirit world, but what I do deny is the authenticity of most of these exorcists. 9 out of 10 times, I don't think is very authentic at all.
10 times out of 10. 10 times out of 10. It's not authentic because demons aren't real. The spirit world is also not real, so we definitely disagree on that. So yeah, 100% of the time, it's not real. It's just theater. And really bad theater with really real world consequences. Like I mentioned, people have been drowned, burned. Well, I don't know about burned. Well, maybe they've been burned. I think they've been burned. Drowned, burned, sexually assaulted, and a whole host of other bad things have happened during exorcisms. It's a thing that we could definitely live without. And it has nothing to do with Satanism, oddly enough. Why are we talking about this? Isn't this supposed to be about Satanism? All right, so unfortunately, I have run out of time for today, and I will have to get back to this a little bit later. So we're going to cut it here, and I'm going to just jump to the future, and we'll watch the rest of this, because like I'm actually legitimately interested, but I just have other things that require my attention today. So like, quick jump out here, and we'll just pick it right up here in a second. Okay, concert's over. It's a brand new day. I'm tired as hell, so my responses might not be as intelligent as they were earlier, but we're going to press on. And there's also a cat, in case you couldn't tell by that, obvious tail. What are you doing? You're not going to be in here if you're just going to be distracting me the entire time. All right, sorry. Yeah. Hey, easy. There There we go. Had to release it back into the wild. All right, so last time we left off, I think we were talking about the exorcism kink. So let me go ahead and bump this up to awesome quality and continue this.
And I haven't done many. But yes, I think you can actually tell if there is something genuinely in, when I say in that person, demon I don't know about, but I think you know whether they are genuine.
Yeah, you can, because it's an act, because demons still don't exist. I've been saying it this whole time, and they're still not getting it for some reason.
On some occasions, I think that we are dealing with a mental problem, a psychosis of some kind, and a priest then performs an exorcism if he believes both in the power of exorcism and in the evil spirit as part of his psychotic imaginings. He will then feel better. So an exorcism can heal psychosis.
No, it absolutely cannot. It'll reinforce the psychosis, if anything. So, yeah, no, that is 100% not true. Which is exactly why no psychologist on this earth, who wants to keep their license at least, will recommend exorcism as a form of treatment, ever. Also, what does this have to do with Satanism? This doesn't have anything to do with Satanism.
A famous Satanist was Aleister Crowley, an English occultist from the early 20th century.
Fun fact, he was not a Satanist. He was an occultist, yeah, absolutely, but not a Satanist.
Now, he set up the religion and philosophy known as Telema, in which he was the prophet entrusted with guiding his followers.
Yeah, there you go.
Gained widespread notoriety for his use of religious sacrifices and sex magic, and was denounced by the press as the wickedest man in the world.
There was sex magic? I should have read more about Aleister Crowley. Okay, so to start things off, there's a whole forum right here on did Aleister Crowley actually sacrifice children? No, he did not sacrifice children. In fact, everyone's saying, like, no. Crowley brought these blah, 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 accusations on himself, blah, 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 whatever. Yeah, so that's already off to a bad start. Quote by Laura, blah, blah, blah. Crowley did not sacrifice children. Crowley always used analogies for things, so he called masturbation child sacrifice. Oh, okay, well, that makes sense if you think about it. Nice try there, narrator. You're not going to get one past me.
Aleister Crowley was a strange man. He wasn't a Satanist. He wasn't a witch, but he was wicked. He was evil. And at the age of 11, he actually murdered the family cat.
Aleister Crowley was definitely different. Yeah, we'll put it that way. Did he do that? Hang on. I don't know. Yeah, I gotta look this one up. Story about Aleister Crowley at age 14 killing a cat. Blah, blah, blah. Reference 30. Blah, blah, blah. I remember that all the time. I was genuinely sorry for the animal. Blah, blah, blah. Control F. Cat. Yeah, so possibly not accurate? I don't know. It's like, it doesn't say anything on the Wikipedia page, but that doesn't really mean a whole lot. But I'm not really seeing a whole lot of things corroborating that story, honestly. Hang on, I have to do research. All right, so I read a bunch of stuff and I watched a video all about Aleister Crowley, and there is no mention of killing a cat. Yeah, he did inspire a lot of different things, particularly like the free love movement in the 60s, the whole hippie movement thing. So that was part of it, which is kind of where Satanism kind of like came out of, was that free love movement. So in a way, he kind of indirectly inspired Satanism via Anton LaVey, but like it's hard to tell. So evil, selfish, yeah. Definitely not a nice guy, at least until his later years. Like when he like had another kid and calmed down a little bit. And also still no mention of cat murder, so there's that.
He was a strange gentleman. He was into sex and drugs and rock and roll, debauchery. He was bisexual, and he was into the occult.
Sounds like a fun guy to hang around. Again, like none of those things are really bad things. Like, I love how he had to throw that in, like he's bisexual as if that's evil. It's like, that's not evil, that's just a part of being a person sometimes. Not every person's bisexual, but I mean, who cares if you are? Like, that's not a thing that should matter.
Some historians claim that Crowley was recruited into British intelligence and that he remained a spy throughout his life, although this was never proved.
I was about to say, that was a load of crap. I just watched that.
As his actions became more and more extreme, in 1920 he was told to leave Britain or face arrest. So, he established a satanic commune in Sicily, where he lived with his followers practicing ritual sacrifice, sex magic, and other depraved acts.
Wrong. He did practice debauchery, but it was closer towards Hellfire Club with rituals. That was about it. Like, that's the whole thing. There was no, like, sacrifices or anything like that being made at all. So, lies, again.
Aaron Paramore is an occult researcher who has studied Crowley in detail. He thinks he really was as wicked as he was portrayed.
Yeah, from what I was gathering, Aleister Crowley might have been a raging narcissist. So somebody who is narcissistic like that will actually make up stories to make themselves look better. And like, if it gets them attention, they'll just like keep making up stories in that same direction as well. So if people were like saying like he was the Antichrist, which they were, like, why wouldn't he lean into that like super hard and like make stuff up? Like, just a thought. They keep throwing in like sacrifice and stuff like this. I think whoever's making these videos like just keeps throwing that in just to like shock the viewers, so to speak. Because like there's like all these societies and like people that they keep talking about. There's no mention of actual sacrifice whatsoever, except for the one religion that they have on here, Christianity. When they're talking about exorcisms, like Christianity has child sacrifice in it. So, yeah, like actual child sacrifice. So, yeah, there's that. And also, like, people often die. Well, not often, but some people have died and been tortured and sexually assaulted and all this stuff in exorcisms. Not going to mention that. All they're going to say is, yeah, well, definitely possible, yeah. All right, for time's sake, I'm going to just do this. I usually watch videos on double speed, but I'm going to just bump this up to 1.5 times speed, save myself a little time and a headache. And also get through this a little bit quicker because I got to go to work here in a few minutes. Well, not a few minutes, but soon. So we're just gonna speed through this. So if it gets confusing for you, I'm sorry. I don't know what to say.
Even if you weren't comfortable with it, he would push you and push you and push you and push you. His his magical motto is "I will endure." So it gives you a sense of what this guy is. Essentially, I think Crowley is a bully.
Yeah, he was definitely a narcissist, but also his thing was do what thou will. So pretty much do what thou will with your own life. That was his whole thing, like legit. Like you don't see like he's like, oh my gosh. But just based on what I've read from Aleister Crowley, like that wouldn't surprise me honestly. So that part might actually be true.
But he bullies and pushes people, and they end up burnt out. And he's used them, and he casts them aside, and he keeps moving forward himself.
He got devotees that were doing anything and everything that he wanted. They believed that he was talking to the spirits, possibly to aliens. whether he really was this new Messiah, or whether he was just a dirty old perv that was having it off with anyone and everyone that believed so much in him. Nobody really knows.
Considering that there's no such things as demons and extraterrestrials, I think we know. I think we know. It's just you who don't know because you don't want to admit that those things don't exist.
What happened in Sicily? In Sicily, he establishes his religion, and followers come out there, and he forms what he hopes to be a spiritual college. What it's more like is a commune in the 60s. So you've got a lot of free love, people having sex, taking a lot of drugs, which is absolutely scandalous. The British press get hold of this, and he's absolutely, called the wickedest man in the world by the press while he's there. And eventually, the goings on and the rumor and the rumor mill get so bad that Mussolini himself has had enough of Mr. Crowley and attempts to get him kicked out, and does eventually get him kicked out of Sheffield.
Again, just sounds like a fun party that just like people weren't ready for at the time because, religion and all that stuff. People are sitting there thinking, he's such an evil man. He's having sex with people and they're not married. And some of them aren't women. Who fucking cares? Like,
in Sheffield, he was known by the people as a truly free man who lived freely from the restrictions of kind of religion. But rituals did go on in there. We know there was a sacrifice of a goat in a particular ritual.
Do you? Do you know? Because literally, I've seen no mention of a goat. Am I missing something? Hang on. All right, so he did sacrifice a goat, so you got that. Once. Yeah, so apparently I just missed that part. So he did sacrifice an animal, but like modern day Satanists don't do that. So why is it relevant to try to bring up Aleister Crowley?
Crowley moved to Sicily, and that's when things got really bad. That's when the sex and debauchery really started in earnest. Sacrifices, drinking of blood, sex with anybody. The man was trisexual. He'd try anything. And he really was an evil creature. There's no getting away from it. In fact, it got so bad that he actually believed in vampires and all of this sort of stuff. And he actually had his fangs filed down and pointed, so that when he was biting the necks of his lovers, mainly female, but both, he actually referred to it as giving them a love bite.
I don't know if this is true or not. I don't honestly feel like looking it up because it still has nothing to do with Satanism. This is at best an ad hominem attack, and honestly, you're attacking somebody who's not even a Satanist.
Aleister Crowley was definitely one of the most evil men in the world, and the legend speaks for itself, doesn't it?
Was he, though? Honestly, he wasn't that bad. In terms of, like, the scale of evil, very, very low on that list. I've been around actual criminals who are more evil than this guy, honestly.
He participated in black masses and really questionable ritual practices with his whole Belima religious group that he was involved in. Kicked out of England for his behavior and his involvement, and really got up to some really nasty deeds.
This is where they would have blood sacrifices, animal sacrifices, and although we can't prove it, we believe human sacrifices. Really morbid sort of stuff. And guess what? He was at the center of it. It was all about him.
We can't prove it, but human sacrifices probably happened. Again, like, the teachings that Satanism actually uses from Aleister Crowley is just do what thou will. That is it. That's it. Again, still no blood sacrifices, no animal sacrifices, definitely no human sacrifice. It's like, so Aleister Crowley practicing it then doesn't mean anything, even if he did. Like, you're still at the same place where you began. You haven't really, like, done anything to prove that Satanism itself is inherently evil.
If you were to go on the internet and drag up the worst possible internet fetish sites you could find, Crowley probably did it. Now, you have to remember, he was one of the first, so he was always looking for something new, something interesting. There's a particularly famous one where he did a particular magical ceremony which involved a woman having sex with a goat. There was other ones where somebody died, where they drank the blood of a cat that had been sacrificed. So if you can think of it, he probably thought of it about 100 years ago.
Again, still not able to find anything about sacrificing a cat or blood sacrifices or anything like that. And honestly, does it fucking matter? Because this is supposed to be about Satanism, not Crowley.
How popular is Satanism today?
Still very, very popular. You've got the Church of Satan still going strong. You have the Church of Set, which is a splinter group of that. And then within the Church of Set, the Order of the Trapezohedroi, which is a sort of H.P. Lovecraftian kind of feeling.
Okay, it's funny how they mention the Church of Satan, but they don't actually mention the Satanic Temple. Kind of interesting that you keep that out. You even mentioned the Temple of Set, which no one knows about. No one knows what the hell that is. I know what the hell that is. It's actually a splinter group of the Church of Satan. Like, one of the founding members of Church of Satan actually split off from the Church of Satan because he just disagreed with Anton for some reason. I can't remember what. And that's where the Temple of Set actually got founded. So it's pretty much the same basic ideas there. Only, different patron, I guess you could say deity, but, like, that's not entirely true because they don't worship Set either. But yeah, this definitely came out at a time when, 6 months ago. 6 months ago. But yeah, if this was released in, 6 months ago, and the filming, took, let's say it took a whole year to get all the filming and done and all that stuff. The Satanic Temple was still there. Why didn't you talk to anyone from TST? where the bulk of the modern satanic movement actually lies nowadays. Most of the time when you hear about Satanists doing anything, you're probably hearing about people from TST, not gonna lie. Not every Satanist is a member of TST, and not every member of TST is also Satanist, so that's also a thing to know about. But it's so weird that you would mention those and you wouldn't mention, the most, like, prevalent group that is out there today. Why? Probably because most members of TST probably, would have told them that, no, we don't worship Satan, or anything like that.
Form of Satanism. A fairly sort of repugnant splinter of Satanism is the Order of Nine Angles. These guys have mixed Nazi ideology within Satanism, and they're a very, very far-right group. You can get a lot of stuff on the internet now about them and all their pamphlets and information.
Whoa. Oh, that's fucking dirty. All right. Okay. Order of the Nine Angles. Yay. Satanic and left-hand path occultist group, which is based in the United Kingdom and is associated with groups around the world, claiming attraction. Yeah. It rose to public recognition in the 1980s, attracting attention for its neo-Nazi ideology and activism, describing its approach as traditional Satanism. It has also been identified as exhibiting hermetic and modern pagan elements, blah blah blah. Again, so you're like looking at a very small, like, called off group and saying, oh, all of them are like this. Like, no, this is these are people that we don't like to recognize as being Satanists, but sadly enough they are. So yeah. But most modern satanic movements do not condone that sort of thing. In fact, I haven't met a racist or sexist or, like, homophobic Satanist yet, because Satanism's about including everyone. It's inclusivity. So, Order of the Nine Angles, being closer towards traditional Satanism, is actually completely different, and it's also based off of pre-Christian traditions and things like that. And what really gets me here is this deceptive editing, saying the Order of the Nine Angles, or whatever. Yeah, he starts talking about them, and then they flash up TST's logos. Like, that is fucking disgusting. Like, honestly, I'm surprised the Satanic Temple hasn't sued them. Like, they've sued people in the past for this type of crap.
Now, but quite a nasty kind of form of Satanism, to the point that neo-Nazis...
Yeah, but, like, neo-Nazi groups, like, the TST does not affiliate themselves with neo-Nazi groups. Like, I hate to say it. Alright, that was fake as shit.
At the very heart of Satanism are its rituals, the most infamous being the Black Mass. Its purpose was not only to worship the devil, but also to mock God, and may well involve animal sacrifices and blood, as well as blasphemy and obscenity.
No, it does not. In fact, I have The Devil's Tome by Shiva Honey. So, in here, it actually has a whole section dedicated to performing the Black Mask at the Satanic Temple headquarters in 2017. So that's kind of the thing about a lot of Satanists, is that you can take these rituals and make them your own. And I hate to say it, but there was nothing about animal sacrifices or anything like that. And oh yeah, they also had one in 2018. Now there was a ethically sourced, I believe it's a goat head. But yeah, nothing was actually sacrificed and stuff like that. So, like, it was more meant for shock value. So there were, like, actual, like, not so vegan parts there. But it describes the entire ritual, and guess what? Animal sacrifice does not actually come up in this. There is a section about, like, dove's blood, but honestly, I'm pretty sure that it's not actually real. So on Shiva Honey's website, like, you can actually buy dove's blood ink, and it actually says there it's not actually made from a dove's blood. So it's pretty much the same concept there. It's meant to represent more look like blood. A bowl of blood / wine with a heart inside of it. That's freaking weird. Yeah, no mention of sacrificing an animal or anything like that. But there are, like, animal parts in the ritual, but it's not like they're sitting there murdering the goat right on the spot for it. Now, Aleister Crowley, the first Black Mass was actually, like, considered to be Aleister Crowley's funeral. So there is that, but yeah. Aside from possibly, the Order of the Nine Angles, which, yeah, a lot of us have kind of shunned that group. for obvious reasons. And it wasn't about worshiping the devil, because most modern day Satanists, aside from theistic Satanists, worship the devil. The vast majority of Satanists are atheists. And it's not about mocking God, it's about mocking modern day religion, which is different. And unfortunately, I gotta go. I'm actually late to get out the door, so I'll jump cut this and finish it later. All right, I'm freaking back. Hopefully this will be the last bit of time I have to spend recording this, because like this video is actually starting to frustrate me a little bit, because it has a lot of information that has very little to do with actual Satanism. And it's I mean, there's not that there's a lot of educational content there. It's just like it's like trying to conflate of like a whole bunch of different things together with Satanism. And that little deceptive edit, like where they're talking about the Order of the Nine Angles, and then like putting TST's logos on there is like, oh, I see these two are related, and when TST's not related with them at all. It's just frustrating. But yeah, we're going to just press on and try to get through this, even though I'm frustrated as hell. And once again, I'm going to crank up the speed to 1.5 times speed, so hopefully you guys can still understand it.
If I was to come across a satanic ritual or a black mass, what would I see?
The altar is often a naked woman. The chalice is not filled with wine. It can be filled with a mixture of I believe, sperm and water, and then sometimes it's filled with bourbon. So there are elements of that still within Satanism, but Satanism has become much more sort of magical movement now. It's much more about spells, much more about sort of modern occultism, and less about the old form of black mass, which was, in complete reversal of worship of God.
No. Again, the most prevalent satanic group out there is the Satanic Temple, and the Satanic Temple actually does not believe in magic, so... There's a cat trying to escape. What are you chit-chatting about over there? Never fails. As soon as I press record, the cats want out.
It's based on a Catholic mass, only it's a lot darker. It's people dressed in black robes with hoods, black candles, inverted crosses, blood sacrifices, the killing of goats and their blood drunk, all manner of debauchery and sex. And even the altar is actually a naked woman.
In this book right here, they actually have images of the altar, and it's not a naked woman. That right there, that's the main altar. Not a woman. Although that would be pretty fucking cool, wouldn't it? Sex, debauchery, probably. But blood sacrifices and all that shit, no. Doesn't happen. Has it probably happened? I don't know. I just know that modern Satanism isn't about that.
A live one, but a naked woman.
He seems excited about that.
I think the credibility of black masses is really questionable. If you think about the participants, why are these people participating in something like this? Is there something psychologically going on with them? And believing in the power of that is probably what produces the power, the energy surge for them of exerting their will in this form of evil to try to obtain what they want. So I think it's really about the psychological aspects of it. Does it really have magical powers? In my opinion, no.
Thank you. It took the entire friggin' video for somebody to say that.
A satanic black mass is a magical ceremony and inversion or parody of the Catholic mass for the purpose of mocking God and worshipping the devil.
Mocking Christianity, not God. And also, no, it's not about worshipping the devil, it's about worshipping the self. Again, for the 100th time, we don't believe in the devil, or at least most Satanists don't.
According to reports, some have involved human sacrifice, as well as obscenity and blasphemy of horrific proportions.
I'm assuming you're getting your information from the Satanic Panic movement of the 80s, which, yeah, showed absolutely no evidence of ritual abuse, child sacrifice, human sacrifice, goat sacrifice, or whatever. Literally, all those hundreds of cases from the Satanic Panic, none of them true. Not a shred of evidence was produced to indicate ritual sacrifice or anything like that. Just a theory. Somebody saw, like, some stuff from the Satanic Panic, didn't do a whole lot of research on it, believed it, and then actually set out to actually prove that Satanism is evil. That's kind of the sense I'm getting from this. Even though they don't bring up the Satanic Panic, I'm starting to think that that's probably where they're getting most of this from, is from the Satanic Panic movement.
Are we becoming more satanic as a society?
I would say yes, we are.
Fuck yes.
I think we are. I think we're moving away. We like to indulge ourselves. People go to the gym. People like to have sex. People like to take drugs. People like to do all these things that were restricted, and we do them. People go out at weekends sometimes. They'll take ecstasy and all the rest of it. And that's considered normal now.
I love how you've lumped going into the gym, which is something that you do to better yourself and to stay healthy, with doing drugs. These are both bad things, you see. You also throw sex in there as if that's a bad thing, too. Like, no, sex is a very normal part of being alive for most people. I mean, some people are asexual, but for a large amount of people, yeah, that's just part of being an animal. Just a very weird statement all around, my man.
You know, when you look at it, let's be honest, the devil has a far better manifesto than the 10 Commandments. How difficult are they? This is the era of 50 Shades of Grey. So going out, having a drink, getting drunk, cheating on your expense reports, having an affair, those are things that you could kind of justify and, you know, not be held accountable. So it's a whole different era when you think about it.
That, like he says, like, go out and commit adultery as if that's normal. I mean, I don't mean to pry into this guy's private life, but, I mean, that says a lot about him more than it does everyone else.
It seems then, in this ever-changing world, the cult of Satan is as popular as ever, with more and more people meeting online or in person to worship or simply hang out. A few of them are pretty hardcore, but the majority consider their Satanism as a kind of protest vote against the church. They don't consider themselves particularly demonic, simply alternative.
It took you this long to say that? Like, do you know how deceptive that is? It's like at the very end, he's like, most people don't consider themselves evil. They just consider them an alternative to, like, yeah, that's kind of the thing. My God, that is the entire modern satanic movement there. Like, they had to have known. They had to. There is no way you could have gone through this whole thing, like, seen all that and been like, oh yeah, by the way, like, most Satanists don't actually do any of the stuff we've like. What was the? I need to calm down. So, what do I see from this? There was trying to think of good things to say about it, but it's hard to. This right here. Guy, there's no such thing as demons. Guy, a second later. I'm not so sure I actually believe whether one is possessed with an evil demon. But then that same guy is like, Satan accepts you as you are. Nothing could be further from the truth. You're right, because Satan doesn't exist, and neither does God. So it's hard for them to accept, you know, anyone as they are because they're not real. But yeah, there was a lot of educational content in there, but like, it was like, they were conflating a lot of groups with Satanism that aren't really satanic organizations. They threw in Aleister Crowley in there, even though he was not a Satanist. Like we know that for certain now. Then they threw shade at the Satanic Temple by basically saying that they're, like, not saying it, but suggesting that, like, they're associated with Order of the Nine Angles, which is a neo-Nazi organization. It's just dirty. Like, and, like, seeing the TST logo there definitely makes me think, like, yeah, they like, TST was definitely around when this was filmed. Like, there's no doubt about that. Why didn't you talk to anyone from TST? It's just clickbait. It's all meant to get views and to, like, get people to watch this whole thing. Like, that's the whole reason why they didn't want to include TST in there, because, like, they know for certain, like, somebody from TST would have been like, no, we don't believe in any of this stuff. Like, we don't believe in sacrifices or anything like that, and, like, most of the modern satanic movement doesn't. Like, basically the thing that I'm telling you, like, a TST representative would have said, which is probably why they never even bothered to reach out to TST in the first place. And that's the whole reason why they threw in Aleister Crowley and the Hellfire Club and the Order of the Nine Angles and all this stuff. Is like, they just want to make it Satanism. Like, they basically just want to back up the Satanic Panic narrative. Like, the modern Satanic Panic narrative that Satanism is evil and it's looking around every corner. It's going to get you and you're going to get captured and sacrificed to Satan because devil worshippers, they're out there, you know. Hate to say it, but most Satanists are, like me, just atheists. Well, I've tortured myself long enough with this. This is already going to be quite hellish to edit, but if you guys have any more suggestions of stuff like this, you can go to my link in the description below. I have a Discord server linked down below. You can go ahead and go to that, and you can recommend me stuff in the Vlad Reacts recommendations channel there. Or if you're not a fan of Discord, you can just leave a comment of stuff I should probably react to. If you like what I do and you want to support me, you can subscribe, become a member of my meme cult, and we'll spread the message of whatever this was. If you wish to support me further, you can also become a channel member and support me that way. But for now, thank you guys so much for watching it. If you enjoyed it, feel free to show me some love down below by hitting the like button. And don't forget to check out the annotations for more videos. And I'll see you in the next video.